More than 14,000 different phishing emails recorded in the first quarter of 2009, according to the UK Payments Association. You'll see different numbers depending who you talk to, but whoever you talk to, that number's very big. Some people in the industry would have said 18 months ago that actually, phishing's never going to go away. There's an opportunity there always for the bad guys. But I think, we're starting to see it become under control. Well, certainly that has changed. Definitely over the last few months, a couple of years even, it's changed. These guys are getting very good at what they do. The number of computers infected with malware designed to steal personal and financial information has risen 600% in the last year, according to Panda Labs. 600%. Malware, for me, is the most scary piece of what I do, at least, in terms of transacting and keeping financial data secure. 600% is pretty fast by anyone's standards. 4 Facebook apps hacked to deliver malware. So, and this is from, 2 days ago. Ed mentioned it when he was talking about iPhones, but increasingly platforms are opening themselves up to third-party developers to come in and develop programs that work with them. PayPal have recently done exactly that. What you're really doing, you're opening the door to your organization, you're putting a lot more little bridges across your moat, and more people are able to cross in. You've got to be very careful that you're allowing the right people in with the right levels of access to your information. Now, Facebook can be very good at vetting and checking apps when they first come in and they get approved and they get put out there. But what happens if the developer of the apps is hacked and they come in through the door that has already been vetted and checked and secured, or thought to be secured? The amount of rogue antivirus software scareware, as it's known, as we see in the press a lot, has increased 6-fold in the first half of this year, according to the anti-phishing work group. Again, they're playing on our fear. We've been maybe good at starting to get the message out there. Be aware, be careful, be afraid, but just understand what you're doing and you'll be fine. They're playing on that. So now you get these pop-ups that you just cannot get off your machine saying, you have a problem, you have viruses on your machine. Please download this piece of software, we'll take care of it. And of course, you're either downloading a useless piece of software, or that you're paying for, of course, or you're downloading a virus. And straight off the eCrime Wales website, a quarter of Welsh businesses suffered an eCrime incident in the last year. This is not something that is only happening to others. It'll never happen to me. It's far from our borders. It's happening all around. It's happening right here in Wales, just as it is anywhere else in the world. That's a lot of stuff. So you can bombard people with this stuff and everyone gets scared and goes off, let's not worry about the internet. It looks too scary. Yeah, it's scary. The high street's scary. If you listed everything that could happen to you on the high street to someone who was an alien who was new to the planet, he'd say, well, why the heck do you guys even go on the high street? It's a dangerous place. Well, it's not a dangerous place. I don't cross a road without looking both ways. I don't go down a dark alley late at night and buy something from a guy in a trench coat. I don't do these things. I just know. I don't do these things. Well, frankly, a lot of the stuff is just about intuition. It's about internet, online, virtual intuition. How do I walk these virtual highways, and how do I act in these virtual shopping malls? It's just a case, again, Ed said it, we've been talking about education for a long time, and I still think a lot of it is still education. That's not all it is. There's a lot else to it, but that is part of it. So, coming back down to PayPal a little bit, what does that mean for us and for any payment type organization who's handling money over the internet? First of all, for us, there's multiple points of entry. We're juggling lots of different angles, lots of different ways in. That sort of blue lozenge in the middle, if you imagine that's the PayPal world. We have PayPal buyers and we have PayPal sellers. We have people who are both. It's not always black and white, one or the other. They're trading with each other. Sometimes they know each other and there's collusion involved and they're trying to do things together that they shouldn't be doing. Who do we let into that lozenge? Where do we set the bar? How do you decide that that person who's coming in really is who you think they are? How difficult do you make it for that person to set up an account or come into your virtual world? Do you make it, do they have to fax copies of passports, or do they have to, visit someone in the real world to be proven that they are who they say they are? Yeah, sure, we can do that. But that fast, easy, secure bit, that becomes a challenge, because it's not fast and easy if you make me do all those things. And then we've got these points of funding, or funding instruments as we would call them. You can use your debit card, you can use your credit card, your bank account, PayPal balance that you've received, where you've received money from other people into your PayPal account. all points of entry, all vectors that can be influenced, or vulnerabilities, if you will. And then, of course, on the other side, I'm a merchant, I receive money. I'm a seller, I receive money. I need to get it out through bank accounts. What does that actually mean? One thing I would say, very early on, we learned quickly to speak the language of the business when you're talking about risk management. I think I certainly remember at least a couple of management team meetings. You're sitting there and you're talking about fishing and farming and DDoS and throwing the acronyms out there because they're interesting and they start with PH. And you get engagement. You get people looking at you. We all have that kind of morbid fascination with bad stuff, the rubbernecking when there's an accident. We like to hear it. But if you don't engage at a level that actually makes me really think, wow, okay, I see what you're talking about, you just get people staring at you interested, but not really taking it away with them to do anything about it. This happens in a management team meeting if you don't talk about loss, if you don't talk about impact on customer and the ultimate impact on revenue and bottom line. So definitely talking the language of the business is very important. So we talk about losses. Revenue, P&L, a common term, profit and loss. It's about loss. I'm not talking about expenses or workforce costs. I'm talking about losses due to two things mainly, fraud and credit. So because we have merchants, we have credit issues, which most people, I think, don't expect us to cover, or haven't thought enough about the fact that we would cover this. But fraud is what we're talking about today, and fraud is maybe the more obvious one. The ways we see it come in: unauthorized use. This is not rocket science. You've probably all heard it before. Unauthorized use of stolen financials, identity theft. I'm using your identity without you knowing. I'm using your credit card without you knowing. I'm using your PayPal account without you knowing. I've fished it. I've fished the details. Non-existent items. This you may have heard in relation to eBay sometimes. You're buying from the guy, wherever he may be. You've never seen the item. You didn't touch it, didn't feel it. You don't know what it is. Guess what? It doesn't exist. It's a picture that I copied from somewhere else. I take your money, I run, you never get the item. We need to obviously address that for our customers. Not as described. Same thing. Can be I ordered a red shirt and I got a blue one. That's a simple one. Or it can be I ordered an iPod and I got a link to where I might be able to find an iPod, but it still cost me 200 quid. How do we deal with that? On the credit side, we do underwrite merchants. We have big sellers. We have Toys R Us or Halfords or well-known brands, but we also have a big chunk in the middle of SMBs, people trying to start up a business. That's what we do. That's what we help people do. We allow them to take payments. If they go bankrupt, we're left holding the can. We have to pay out to customers, and we're left figuring out how we get that money back. So we have to be very careful about how we manage the selling side of the equation. Non-sufficient funds, much less of an issue in terms of scale, but this is, a buyer buys something in their bank account, they actually don't have the money, we later find out from the bank that there's issues, and again, we need to figure out what we're going to do about that for the seller. Manifestation, what does this actually mean for us? On PayPal reversals, when a lot of what we do, we have a huge team of people, which I'll talk about in a second, who build models and statistical analysis, etc. Every single one of those transactions, every single cent of that $2,000 that goes through our system every second is checked automatically by some kind of machine, and in many cases manually through eyeballs if we flagged it as something that is risky. PayPal reversal is when we see a problem, we reverse the money. The money went that way from the buyer to the seller, we reverse it, it goes back to the buyer. Customer claims, they tell us they have a problem. We have a dispute resolution process that you can go through. There's obviously a policy around that, certain requirements that have to be met by both buyers and sellers. And in many cases, you'll get your money back. Bank reversals, bank tells us later there's a problem, they take the money back. Credit card chargeback, same thing from a credit card company. You decide that it wasn't you who used your credit card and the money has to come back.